Hey guys, this is Nick Wood here. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I'm just going to be doing a very short, easy video before I get back to my crypto stuff. So I had stumbled across this viral video, and it was talking about this new Dumbphone. Now, for guys who don't know, there's a big thing going around where people want to get back from their cell phones and get back from all the modern conveniences of a nice phone. And they want to go back to having less features and less stuff to do because apparently it strips them away from their the inconveniences of social media. Personally, I understand that there's a certain market for this stuff, and I understand especially for people who are lower income areas or people that just don't want to have to pay subscription fees every month. This would just be a lot easier to have, and so I never had an issue with this. But this particular phone is amazing in its uselessness. So let's watch.
Since Alexander Graham Bell first snagged the patent back in 1876, the telephone has undergone a
Ever since Alexander Bell, human race has been gone to shit. It's all his fault. I hope he suffered for the pain he's caused.
radical transformation.
Today, Apple is
Speaking of people that ruin the world, Steve Jobs.
going to reinvent the phone.
Yeah, look at all these nice phones.
Today, the phone isn't what it used to be. We can use it to video chat, order late night eats, and find a date. But as all of this innovation has been happening with...
Honestly, it just sounds like they're pretty awesome. Smartphones, like I said in a previous video that I took down because we got copyright claims, so I hope I don't get copyright for this one, is that phones are really useful. They're just useful for everything. They've replaced a lot of the things you used to have to do on computers. Like, there are so many devices that nowadays are just apps, and it's so convenient. I really don't think people appreciate how just convenient everything is with smartphones because they just grown up with them or they just had them for so long. But I remember back in the day when I was a bit younger that, like, if you wanted to get anything done, you had to have like 7 different things. You had to have a camera. You had to print out directions. You had to use like GPS devices, or you had to just use your brain. And like, some people could argue that it made us lazy, but I just think it's just nice and convenient. So we'll get back to this in a minute.
Rapidly evolving tools, advancing technology, and consumers frothing with each new development, one tiny company decided to take a huge leap backwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just one company. It's a lot of different companies that have been developing these dumb phones. But, okay, it's always nice to have... I'm going to get rid of these subtitles. Sorry about that. It's always nice to have a new competitor. They can do something new, especially for cheap price, right?
This is the Dumbphone.
Oh, sorry. Actually, it's called the Lightphone.
I don't know what about this guy, but he reminds me of somebody else. He reminds me of, like, FaZe Jev. You guys know who FaZe Jev is? Yeah, he kind of looks like him.
The phone that's been...
God, that looks... Yeah, that looks like an indie device.
intentionally stripped back to just a few...
Is that e-ink, I think? Is that what it's using? It's using e-ink? That's actually pretty effective and honestly very good for power consumption. I know e-ink is like a fraction of the power consumption that something like a normal screen could be because it has to refresh only once every time you change it. So, I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't think I've seen that on a smartphone before, so that's cool.
few basic...
But the problem is that it's very limiting. Basically, if you want to watch a video, it's incredibly hard to watch. I know they've made new stuff, like so it doesn't look like a PowerPoint presentation of my 2005 Pentium laptop trying to run Crysis before it exploded. But it's doable.
apps.
FaceTiming grandma, it's
Oh god,
yeah,
who does this guy remind me of? Oh my god, it's gonna keep me up at night. Who does this guy remind me of? Oh. He looks like that one kid that used to be... Oh, my God. Oh, it's going to keep me up at night. Oh, I'll have to think about it later.
that's amazing. Everyone wants that. But checking your email before you brush your teeth,
He looks like that one character from, like, the Maze Hunter. You know that dude from the Maze Hunter? That, like, the sidekick character? That's what he looks like with long hair.
it's like a side
Dude went from getting almost killed by minotaurs to selling phones. I
effect of
mean, some could say that's a worse fate than death.
having that technology with you.
That's Joe Hollier, the designer and co-founder of the Lightphone. As much value as we get from our smartphones, they obviously cause a lot of headaches.
I mean, I guess in some ways. I've never really found a smartphone an inconvenience. I feel like it's benefits outweigh its negatives, but go on.
I've documented my own struggles with my phone addiction over the years, and I've conducted a number of experiments to try to bring technology into my life without it making me completely miserable. I've tried.
You just, I mean, like, the easiest thing I figured out is to just not use it. You could just uninstall all your bad apps. You could just, not, constantly, have some self-control. I mean, I know that's an impossible thing for some people to have, but it's like, I don't really think that's a downside, that something has too many features. That's like saying I got too addicted to my air conditioning, and now suddenly I can't enjoy a summer breeze. So now I've decided to get rid of my car.
Turning my iPhone screen black and white, hiding tempting apps into folders buried on my phone.
You just delete the apps. I don't know why you need to do that.
I implemented digital minimalism rules, quit social media twice, and even tried a flip phone for a month.
You should get a smartphone. They're a game changer.
I know about smartphones! I'm trying to be a good person, you dumb bitch!
But none of these solutions
I don't even want to know what the context of that was.
ever worked for me in the long run. The rules were broken, the fasts were forgotten, and the flip phone, well, it was just a little bit too dumb for me.
I mean, like, it kind of seems like no offense to this guy, but that seems kind of like a you problem. Like if you're that addicted to social media that you just straight up have to use a lesser device, I mean, like, I don't know, man, you should probably get that checked. Because personally, I don't ever feel like I'm forced to use the apps. Like, as much as I can laugh about my Twitter addiction, at the end of the day, if it really was a detriment to my life, I would just not use it.
So right now I'm trying to get Google Maps working.
You see, like, this is the problem. One of the problems with dumb phones is that, like, you have to get rid of all the conveniences I mean, I get it's cheaper and it's got 4G, so that's nice, but, like it's such an inconvenience for no reason when you could just, like, simply not go on the bad apps or just not use your phone as much. It's just weird to, like, do less. But, again, these flip phones are really cheap. So you could also make an argument that you're saving a buck for something that you don't have to use as much. That's fair.
Not determine
Remember that. Just remember that. That's all I'm going to say.
your precise location.
I was excited about the potential of a Lightphone.
I mean, a pretty good phone like that. I mean, I don't see what the feature set... With e-ink, I feel like the feature set would be even more limited than a flip phone. But we'll see.
Any advice for me as I ditch my...
I thought that dude froze for a second. No, it just looks like he's staring. Who else does this dude look like? I swear to God. He looks like Mr. Mobile. He looks like a thinner Mr. Mobile. No offense to Mr. Mobile. He's great.
iPhone, and I use a Lightphone instead.
I mean, patience is
I'm really glad I'm watching this in 4K. I could see the curvages of his pores.
probably
Thank you, God.
one of the biggest things.
Will this phone be the solution to my problems? There's only one way to find out. I tried using a Lightphone for 30 days. The Lightphone 2 currently retails at $299.
Pardon? Excuse me? Excuse me? What?
$9.
$299 for this. Why? Wait a minute. I thought the whole point of getting a dumb phone is that you would get one for cheap. Like, that's the appeal of getting a dumb phone, is that it's cheap. That's $300 ain't fucking cheap. You're paying $300 for something that you admit has less features? All right. I mean, let's see why.
But luckily my friend had one, so I just borrowed it.
Man, this package is not to say $300.
I am going to
Jesus Christ, look how fucking small this thing is. It's smaller than an iPhone, the original.
put in my SIM card.
It's like I can snap it in half by looking at it hard enough.
This is exciting.
Is it?
How does it take so long to load?
$300.
I clearly have zero patience. This is not gonna...
No. I think it's fair to act why something that's so simple, that costs $300, would take a substantial time to load, especially when it's not that power consumption and it's not that complicated.
Be good. Greetings. Welcome to your Lightphone. Let's create your
strange.
Light account. It kind of feels like a mini Kindle. We have phone,
Except a Kindle would probably be cheaper.
we have alarm, and we have settings.
My God, like, again, I understand. Ooh, sorry, I hit the mic. Ooh, boy. I'm sorry, I'm sick. I'm not this. But, like, I love how if you zoom in enough, you could literally still see the You see, like, it's like 622. Like, you can still see that in the background. It's like the display is super. Again, I know it's e-ink, but it's like that seems really inconvenient.
Have alarm.
$300.
And we have settings. There are just 3 apps installed on this phone from the
Man, you paid $300 so you can get less features that were in fucking Nokia from like 2008.
very beginning, which is amazing. I mean, that's what you want out of a light phone. All right, now that I've got my phone set up, let the experiment begin. So my first impression of the phone is pretty much in alignment with my expectations. But if
That's shit.
I'm being honest,
Again, I'm sorry to be so harsh, but it's like I was a lot nicer on this phone when I thought it was like $100. But now that I know it's that expensive, like just to put in perspective how fucking expensive this is. Oh boy, maybe better. Oh god, I messed it all up. I ruined it all. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay. Right here.
my expectation.
Okay. I'm sorry. This is not professional at all. You know me. If you go to Amazon.com, you can literally just look up, like, I'm not even kidding, Galaxy S21. You can buy a fucking Galaxy S21 unlocked for $290. You can literally get one of the most feature-rich smartphones, even today, even now, that is like fully loaded with basically everything you could need. Fully unlocked, so you could use it with any of your devices, like any of your carriers. And with 128 gigs, Phantom Gray, US version. A steal of a price. Or you could buy this. You buy this thing for the same price.
But if I'm being honest,
But hey, at least it's minimalist, I guess.
right from the beginning, I'm a little bit worried it won't be useful enough for me. All right, so this
Better be fucking useful for the price.
obviously makes phone calls.
I'm sorry. Okay, fucking Marvel's infesting my videos now. They better start paying me.
So let me give it a test here by calling none other than the Natalie Pitting.
Oh, that response time.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Why are you being so nice?
Because you were nice to me.
Yeah, that's how humans talk.
It's nice that I
Why was that, like, structured like a robot? What the fuck?
can actually make
It's the most awkward thing I've heard all day.
phone calls with this thing, but who actually calls people anymore? Most
Why else would you use it? I mean, like, that's 1/3 of the features. If you're not going to be using it to call people, then, like, well, shit, dude.
of us prefer texting, which this phone has. But when I really start to think about it, my communication these days is fragmented into a half a dozen different apps. I'm frequently having conversations between text, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Instagram DMs, and other places. This phone has just basic texting.
So, again, you are paying so much money to have so many less features than a phone you could also get that has all those features and is, like, still top of the line, even though it's a couple years old. And you could get it for literally the same, actually a little bit cheaper.
So the texting on this thing is so slow, I don't think I can handle it. Nope.
Oh my god.
See?
Oh god. It would literally be easier. It was easier to type on, like, those bootleg Android tablets from, like, 2010. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's so...
It took me a whole
That response time is, like, literally, like, a second later.
43 seconds to type this text. NVM found it. All right, so I just got an email from Australia Post saying they have a package for me, and they gave me a QR code, and they said just bring your phone into the store and then we'll scan the QR code. Obviously, I can't do that. So right now what I'm gonna do is print out my QR code and then bring that to the post office.
Yeah, that kind of defeats the purpose of minimalism if you literally have to A, waste paper, and B, use another device to waste said paper. That's not really minimalist when you're having to use more devices to do basically the same thing. Like, if anything, you could argue that the smartphone itself is more minimalist because it's just one device that does everything.
And see if I can get my package.
You're basically, and again, you're gimping yourself for no fucking reason.
The barcode worked, and I got my
All because you can't get off Twitter for 10 minutes.
package.
Like, Elon Musk is going to destroy it soon. You don't have to worry about it.
Also a strange look from the postie behind the counter, but I have to...
Yeah, I'm sure it must have been a pain in the ass because they probably were like, oh, usually we get to do this on your phone, but now we get to do it on a piece of paper. Hope that piece of paper wasn't smudged. I feel bad for that guy if that happened.
admit it was pretty inconvenient to have to print it out. What was it that Joe said about patience?
My first couple
Yeah, patience. I feel like there's the line between patience and just annoyance.
weeks using this phone, I absolutely hated it. It honestly caused so much more friction in my life than I was expecting. But I will
God, I like, again, I appreciate the e-ink. I appreciate, trying, the power. Again, like, it's really useful. But, like, if all it has is, like, 3 apps and you can't do anything else other than text, set an alarm, and change the settings, and it's like, well, who gives a shit? Again, even phones from, like, the early, mid-2000s had more features than this. And, they weren't even that expensive, a lot of them. Some of them could be way cheaper, even adjusted for inflation. I don't understand who this is for.
say that the more that I've
Like, honest to God, it probably has less features than that fucking flip phone. And I bet that flip phone was like a fraction of the price.
used it, the more that I've come around to this phone, and the more that I've actually started to enjoy it.
Hey everybody,
What is there to enjoy? I mean, you enjoy texting and calling people? Again, you probably could have just done that from... Again, you could just buy a shitty old, like, outdated Android device that probably doesn't have access to a lot of the new features that could do all that, and it'd probably be cheaper.
just wanted to let you know
Probably have a less stressful plan, too.
real quick that my habits course, Simple Habits, is now open for
Oh, no.
enrollment for the next 2 weeks. Why should you
This
care?
is an ad.
I'm so glad.
When you first launched the Lightphone, I remember the features were even more pulled back than what you've currently got on it.
Oh, cool. When this thing was first announced, how is it going to be more pulled back? Like, what? It doesn't even have texting? It's just a fucking brick that you say call things and it does it for you?
Was there feedback there?
It was not even a phone. It was just literally like a self-defense device.
Or like, do you think that maybe it was
They're gonna send you they're gonna send you like a broken motherboard and 2 sticks of RAM and be like, figure it out yourself, dumbass.
almost too simple and like there wasn't enough of what people want out of a newer modern phone?
The original iPhone only had phone calls, and it actually only stored 9 speed dials. But it was never intended to replace someone's smartphone. And from the early feedback,
I mean, like, that's a stupid point, because the original iPhone, like, had a lot of, like, yeah, was limited in some capacity, but it also had way more features than this, like, an infinite amount more, features than this. It had, like, it was revolutionary. You could go on the internet, like a fully fledged internet. We'll show that later, but they had, like, the original iPhone was, like, a massive leap forward for phones. They could do so much more shit than almost any other phone with just an easy interface. This has an interface that's super slow and unreliable, and it's way too fucking small. Its e-ink is nice, but again, all it can do is 3 different things. There's really nothing all that great about this.
we got,
Again, it's like, it doesn't even matter that it's a big touch display, because again, you can't do anything on it, and it's really unresponsive.
the users that were really loving going light, they told us they wanted to go light even more. They wanted to ditch their smartphone, but, they need to get a text from a bank to, setting an alarm. We had to really kind of think, like, is having something like directions on the phone a distraction, or is that actually, a utility?
What the fuck are you talking about? In what world was having directions a distraction? Like, no, that's the opposite of a distraction. Having directions makes everything so much easier. You can just type something on Google Maps or Waze, that most people use, and just be like, I want to go to this location, but I don't want to have to print out instructions or just know it by memory, and just be like, hey, hope I can remember exactly where it is on the road, especially if you're in a place you don't know. Like, I remember back in the day, my parents used to have to navigate places like Panama City, and they just had to do it by ear. It was the most annoying thing in the world. Or my old days, we had like a little bit of a GPS that was so crappy that like it would tell you to turn like 2 seconds before you turn. It was all like audio. It was so annoying. So no, in what world would you have a discussion that having directions is distracting? Is it just like how is an inconvenience something that levies inconvenience a distraction? I don't understand that logic.
Peace of mind.
Since the first version of the phone launched in 2015, they've added new apps like Directions, Hotspot, Music, Podcasts, and even a calculator.
So I've been
Okay, so it's becoming less and less like a simple phone because now you have Directions and Hotspots and calculator and music. So, I mean, again, basic features like the original fucking iPhone had in 2007. Admittedly, it was a lot more expensive. No, these were features that I think, again, like a Nokia N95 had, and like that came out in 2007. And you could probably find one of those if they still worked for way cheaper than this.
installed a few new apps on my phone.
Again, it defeats the purpose of minimalism if you're just installing apps now. Why not just buy a fucking $300 like Samsung, get like one of those Android launchers that turns it into a minimalist phone, and there you go. You have a top of the line smartphone that you could switch back and forth, and every version of the apps is better than this.
They definitely seem like they'll be helpful. Now to see if they actually work in practice. All right, so I'm venturing off and using the GPS for the very first time.
He's going to be using a GPS with e-ink. We're about to see. This man's going to kill more people than the average Tesla user.
All right, let's go into the menu.
That's unfair. This phone probably isn't designed to kill people, unlike Tesla's.
Directions. All right, so I got the GPS loaded up here. Let's give it a go.
Oh, God.
Wow, look at that. Perfect fit. I wish I knew the metric system. I should have changed this to the imperial system.
Now turn right.
Okay, I missed that turn.
Man, that's really annoying. It'd be really nice if it had like a visual indication. Like it could show you driving down the road and there's like a line in front of you, so you could be able to gauge yourself where you need to turn without having to rely on, your speed plus your speed and your velocity maybe throwing off your internal, sense of direction. Maybe that would be nice, If only something like the Apple iPhone, which was released in 2007, could do, with no problems.
After 300.
I didn't think it was possible to make something worse than 2008 era Apple maps, but here we are.
50 meters, turn left onto Mitchell Road.
Okay, it's recalculating now. I gotta turn around.
This reminds me of that fucking, Nika Higa video that's called the iHuman, and it's just recalculating. It's good to know that parody becomes real life eventually.
The Directions app, well, let's just say that it has room for improvement.
I feel like it has room to it might as well just not exist. It's such an inconvenience.
My first trial was nerve-wracking
And also just look at how it updates.
and a bit unpredictable.
In weird little increments. And also because the e-ink takes like a second longer, you'd probably miss your turn if you weren't paying attention.
This is gonna be absolutely impossible. Do you see this? I honestly have no idea how to even
Okay, it does. It does actually have this feature.
read this thing.
Oh, Jesus.
I tested it out 5 or 6 more times after this, and the results were scattered. Sometimes it worked
Look at the way it updates, though. It'd probably be easier just to do it by eye.
without issue. Other times it would get me totally lost.
To me, like, the whole idea of this phone is to reduce stress in your life. And this navigation system seems to add a little bit too much stress for me right now. And so I think in the long run, I don't know if it's something that I could actually get used to.
I don't think you could ever get used to that. E-ink has this horrible, feature that, as great as it is, it's good for books, it's good for reading, but it's not really useful for something that needs to be constantly updated. They're getting better with it, but that just looks like it could get you killed.
So, score 1 for the smartphone.
I feel like I score a lot for the smartphone. I don't think there's anything that this phone can do that, a normal person... there's nothing that this phone could do that, a shittiest smartphone in the world couldn't do better.
So I'm over 3 weeks into this experiment now, and if this phone had an app to track my time spent on it, it'd probably be less than 10 minutes per day. I honestly barely ever use it.
Gee, what would you use it for? If you don't call people and you barely ever text, you just paid $300 for a fucking door opener, for a door stopper. That's all you did it for.
I've definitely found
A paperweight.
myself having far less screen time than I typically do. I would say I'm
Of course you don't have any screen time because there's nothing to do.
more mindful
You spent $300 so you could use your phone less.
around technology. Now my time used on my phone is so significantly reduced that I would have to say that it is improving my mindfulness and my well-being throughout the day.
I mean, for God's sakes, you could have just done that by not using your phone. delete all the apps, install get an Android phone that's super cheap that lets you install there's launchers that'll turn it into a dumb phone at the press of a button. You can just do that, or you could buy any of these way cheaper Nokia phones that have just as many of these features and probably one better, and you didn't have to spend $300 to cure your addiction.
So, score 1 for the Lightphone.
I've tried out all the apps.
This is not unique to the Lightphone. You can buy a Nokia 3310, I think, for $70. Let's go double check. Let's go check. Let's just look up 4G Dumbphone. I just want to make sure. You could buy this Nokia 225 unlocked mobile phone with 4G for $50. And I guarantee it does everything that phone does, but better. Okay, you could get this Palm phone. Again, probably not the best in the world, but it's 32 gigabytes of memory. It's 4G LTE. It's unlocked. And you know what? And again, it's significantly less. You could buy this flip phone that's rigid, ATM, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, you could use your fucking AirPods with it. You could, or you could buy one of these jellies. I've heard they're not that bad. Or they're pretty good for what they are. Hell, I've seen this phone before. I saw this on, Dank Pods. It's $103, and it can do literally everything this can do. Every single one of these shitty ass phones can do basically everything that phone can do. And guess what? It ain't gonna cost you $300.
Apps on the phone, and the results were pretty good overall. You can download your favorite podcasts and connect your headphones.
I could download my podcast on a fucking iPod too, and I can pull that out of my drawer
via Bluetooth. For music, you need to manually upload tracks. Unfortunately,
you have to manually upload tracks to a phone that costs $300.
Fortunately, there's no Spotify. Also, only 1 gigabyte of storage.
1 gigabyte of storage. That is literally less than an iPod Nano from 2005. That's the size of that's half the size of a deck of cards. Are you kidding me? The iPod Shuffle 2nd gen that I had a 2 gigabyte, and that thing was this. You could literally eat that thing.
For context, the first iPod ever had 5 gigabytes.
He even mentions it. He even mentions the first iPod ever made, back in the year of 2001. That's 20-something years ago. It had 5 gigabytes of storage.
You can record notes via a voice recorder.
So, you couldn't even download that many songs on it. Shit, dude. It's basically like a crappy iPod, except it could take calls, I guess. So it's you could just a bad iPod Touch.
Or take notes manually, typing on this.
I'm starting to think you could literally just get an iPhone 6, and it would probably just be... And I get the point. I understand the point is that they want to get away from the technology. They want to get away from the inconvenience. And again, I'm sorry I'm rambling for a long time about this, but it's dude, just have some self-control. Why are you wasting so much fucking money why would you spend $300 for less when you could just, I don't know, not do it? If you can go 30 days with this piece of crap as your main device, then you could probably just go 30 days with all your apps deleted.
This thing...
what's stopping you from just taking the SIM card out and putting it in your other phone? Again, if you can resist it here, then you could just resist doing it in general.
It's really...
It's the stupidest concept ever. I don't understand.
Clunky, so it's off.
Even if you want to remove yourself from the social media space because you're a meth addict and you need it. Again, all those other crappy phones have more features, are more reliable, and they're way less.
It's frustrating to write down ideas or notes.
Look at this.
All right, so I'm nearly finished.
Look at that shit. It's you can't, it's not good at anything.
With this 30-day experiment, and if I'm being completely honest, I cannot wait to get back to a smartphone.
I entered this experiment really wanting it to work.
I respect that the dude, even though he has a nice relationship with the guy, is honest enough to say, yeah, this shit sucks.
Wanting to find a phone that would give me all the tools I needed.
Look at that.
While removing the headaches my smartphone causes. But unfortunately, I don't know if I'm ready to make the switch full time. Not having a camera.
Again, any headaches that a smartphone, I just never understood why, it's a headache to have more features that you could just not use. I get it. I used to be addicted to Coca-Cola all the time. I used to drink it all the time. You know what I just did? I just stopped. I didn't need to find replacement drinks. I just started drinking Gatorade, the Gatorade Zero, and I started drinking water a lot. And eventually you just get over it. And like he said, 30 days. All this is doing is restricting the shit out of you for no reason. It's not social media addiction. It's just because this thing's worthless.
camera, the
I feel buyer's remorse after 2 days of using this thing.
body directions, and the clunky typing are the biggest deal breakers for me.
Like, God, look at that response time. I could probably type out an entire fucking essay about how much this thing sucks and the times it takes him to say, have you seen my samurai sword?
Now, that's not to say that this phone might not be right for you. Now, if somebody has a much simpler life than I do, if you don't leave...
Then you just buy a smartphone and don't use any of the devices. Or you buy a flip phone that's like 1/3 the price.
live between
Because it would function better, it would look better, and it wouldn't run at fucking 3 frames a second.
two countries, if you generally go to the same places every single day, then you could probably get by with this phone.
It's an
You could probably get by with a lot of phones that do more and don't have to tie yourself to social media, you know?
insanely
$300, just want to remind you.
ambitious challenge to literally invent a phone, custom apps, and to show the restraint they did when building it. After all, the phone is what it isn't. I just think it needs to smarten up a little bit for me to actually make the switch full time.
But at that point, it might as well just be a shitty smartphone. And at that point, you might as well just buy a cheap iPhone 6 that can do everything this phone can do, and it's probably not as up to date, so you probably don't have to worry about a lot of apps working. There you go.
This is a technology that is intentionally stripped back, and yet
It's intentionally stripped back, but the price ain't.
I'm almost like waiting for these
I understand they're a small company, so they can't, take the price down like a lot of other companies could, but like, it still sucks. It's still not good.
updates from them that might actually...
There are other companies that will sell you much better phones that are also independent. Like, hey, I'll show you one that I really liked. This is a little bit more. But this Unihertz Titan, I've heard a friend who loves this sort of stuff. Like, it's outdated, it's not as optimized, and the buttons are not perfect. But he swears by this religiously. Like, he'll swear that this is a fun-ass phone to use for typing. And it has a objective benefit that you could see. If you're the person that likes typing on buttons, this will give you a feature that most smartphones want. It is something that is actually useful to use. Other than this phone, which again is worse in every single way, no matter what. It is worse at literally everything.
actually make it a little bit more usable.
And like, I heard, I don't think you can't read ebooks on it. Like, again, that's what e-ink is good for. Being, electronic ink for reading. If this can't do that, then it's literally super worthless.
For me,
If you're thinking about adding a little more intentionality with how you use technology, Joe's got
If you want to add more intentionality, then intentionally use it in the way that restricts your access to social media. You don't need to pay $300 for shit.
some advice for you.
Getting a light phone is obviously one option, but I do think if you want to try going light for an afternoon, like leave your smartphone at home. We forget that we used to do these things all the time
This motherfucker's selling this thing. And he's like, yeah, you just not use your phone.
with no phones on us.
Just take your phone out. Also, that even though I think that would be really inconvenient, because, what if I need to call emergency services? What if I get lost? What if I almost get fucking mugged and I need to call the police on some reason? It's, again, you're removing a lot of really cool features just so you can be like, oh, man, look how minimalist I am. Or you can just take your phone with you and not use it. I don't know. Maybe that's offensive to say. Maybe I'm not thinking of the bigger picture. That just seems stupid. I'm sorry.
It's something I'd encourage everyone to try at least for one Saturday.
thanks so much.
Like, fuck, I do that all the time. I will literally put my phone away, and I'll just go up to the mountains, and I'll just relax. And, like, yeah, I'll pull up my phone if I want to take a picture or something. But it's like, I don't use it. it's just nice to have. It can record my steps, record my heartbeat. If anything bad happens, I'll have a safe device to call somebody on with. I can take beautiful pictures that, like, most can't. Like, a camera you could find would probably be way more expensive. And it's directly connected, so I could just text it out to somebody. Smartphones are amazing. It's so, like, I just don't understand. Like, again, if you're a person that is poor, this phone isn't for you. If you're a person that wants features that are still up to date, but like dumb enough that you don't have to worry about all the updates, again, this isn't for you because, again, you still have to update it. You still have to get new apps. It's not like a perfect phone that'll never be updated because there are new shit, and it's always going to be unreliable. Like, I would hate to have to use this thing in a terrible situation, man.
For watching. Don't forget, Simple Habits closes in 2 weeks. So if you want to get your habit,
I'm no offense guy. You seem like a nice guy, but I don't want your habit. So I guess the point I'm going to make, like, he agreed with me. But the point I'm trying to make is just that, like, I just don't understand who this appeals to. I really do not understand people. It almost feels like you're being suckered. And I'm sure that's not the intention. And again, I know this dude's company is very small, and so he can't reduce the price because he doesn't have the resources to be able to reduce the price. But again, it seems like a solution to a problem that doesn't need to exist. Have some self-control and just don't use your damn phone. All right? This isn't like drugs that alter your brain and literally force you to become addicted to it. Have some self-control. And every once in a while, if you need to, just don't use your phone if you don't need to use it. All right? I am addicted to fucking shit, but I'm addicted to it because I enjoy the pain. I enjoy being miserable, and I enjoy watching the world burn down. I'm weird, but you know what? If I really didn't want to, I could just stop. So that's the point I make. Again, sorry I haven't got that crypto video up, but this is just a rant I wanted to make because this video annoyed me. All right, see you around.